CMPradio.net, it's the station. Listen, man, let's cultivate together. Bring us all your show ideas. Content creators, we're looking for that. Videographers, we're looking for that. You can be a part of the next great big thing that takes place right here in Chester, Pennsylvania. Let's cultivate together, man. What's going on, everybody, man? It's your boy, Uncle P, man, and we're having neighborhood conversations, man. This is a dope event, man. I love it when I'm able to talk to the people of the community that I don't get a chance to talk to too often. Today we have Chester City's receiver, Mr. Michael Dowery. He's going to sit down and talk about all the things that we have to fix and the way we have to fix them. Yeah, let's get started, man. First, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, right? That's a picture of Michael Dowery, right? And here we go, right? Keeping it 100 Delco COVID-19 conversations. COVID vaccine rates in Delaware County are really low for young Black people and their children. It is time to have a real conversation about this. In collaboration with Dr. Christian Ball Motley's firm, HCS, we're hosting Keeping It 100 COVID Conversations. Dads are speaking out right here on CMPradio.net tonight at 7 p.m. We'll hear from moms tomorrow night at 7. Let's join the conversation. Definitely a dope situation. I'm going to go ahead and bring Mr. Dowery on so we can get started in our interview. Remember, share this live one time for the one time, man. Make sure everybody knows that we're live. And put your comments in the comment section, anything you want to say, any questions that you have. Let's go. How you doing, Mr. Dowery? How you feeling, sir?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Oh man, no complaints. I'm living the dream, right? Living the dream. So let's jump right into this interview, man. Explain who you are and what it is that you do.
Well, as stated, my name is Michael Dowery, and the title is Receiver for the City of Chester. What we do, unfortunately, the City of Chester is on the brink of insolvency. So receivership is the state's, I'll say, last effort, if you will, before to try to head off and avoid bankruptcy. But this is the state's equivalent to, or my title will be the equivalent to, a bankruptcy trustee in federal court. So it's the state pulling out all stops and measures to try to help the city.
When was the last time a city in the state of Pennsylvania went through receivership, and how did it end?
Yeah, this is only the second city in Pennsylvania's history to go into receivership. The city of Harrisburg went through receivership approximately 10 years ago, just over 10. And how it came out, obviously the city is still intact. It's still in some oversight with the state, Act 47 oversight, but not receivership. And the situation there was different. It wasn't about operating costs versus operating revenues. It more so was about the total amount of debt that the city had. So they had to do some credit deals, some refinancing, selling their incinerator and some other things, monetizing parking, to get a large enough influx of cash to be able to restructure their debt portfolio. They were able to accomplish that, and they came out of receivership.
Okay, awesome. And it sounds like what you were saying, right? They had to monetize their parking, right? It sounds like the city of Chester was heading towards that, maybe not in the right way. Maybe that's what the problem was, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, selling assets, has been the norm.
Okay.
Not just Chester, but cities of this size are referred to as third-class cities in the state of Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And there are numerous third-class cities throughout Pennsylvania that have sold major assets, be it water systems, wastewater systems, parking, buildings, whatever they can to try to convert something from being an asset to a large influx of cash to help with ongoing operations. It's a disturbing trend, and one that the state and I know Governor Wolf is committed to trying to overcome, but unfortunately, it's a pattern a pattern that just hasn't changed. And so specifically, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Chester is in the same boat. You could see the parking assets being monetized in 2019, I believe it was. Stormwater assets and the spinoff of the authority. Those assets were monetized, so to speak, and then that rate started. Then you have the Chester Water Authority and that RFP in 2019. And then you can go to the county level and look at Delcora. So unfortunately, it's been a pattern over and over again.
All right. When we think of receivership, I want people to understand that it's sort of like you were saying, you're a trustee in a federal bankruptcy court, right? Is sort of like bankruptcy for a singular person, but it's dealing with bigger issues, right? How many people are on your staff, and what are their jobs or roles?
Yeah, so I'm appointed by the Commonwealth Court, so we're still working our way. Well, we are working our way through the state system, and you're right. I need to have a team for how large or how diverse the issues are here. So first and foremost, I have counsel. I have legal counsel. That's Campbell Durant. There's one primary lawyer assigned, but then there are two lawyers under him that help. So we have legal help there. Our financial consultants, that's through PFM. There are two consultants primarily assigned through that, but they'll bring in other support as needed. From an operations side, we're working with Fox Chase Advisors. Fox Chase is really embedded into the public works and the HR office of the city, and just trying to improve operations, processes, internal controls. Then we also have economic development consultants, Chbosky Buffalo and his team focus on economic and community development. So developing a municipal comp plan, engaging business owners and seeing what can be done to help support them, and engaging surrounding municipalities, county and surrounding municipalities alike, to work together on a comprehensive plan for the region. So we have econ dev, we have operations, we have finance, we have legal. We did have community engagement, as most of my team is not from the area. We work with the Quarks group to get into the community and start to learn, meet some of the movers and shakers. Their work is subsided now that we're into our second year. And then my main man, my chief of staff, Mr. Kapoor, is also a lawyer by trade, but he's all over the place in helping to advance this project.
Awesome. Do you feel that Chester can pull itself out of receivership? And what are your plans for that?
By itself, unfortunately, no. And I don't mean that as a slight to Chester. It's going back to what we were just talking about, the pattern for third-class cities abroad, across the Commonwealth. The state, the county, federal government, all parties, and public-private partnerships have to come together to figure this out and provide a custom, unique solution for the city of Chester. So no slight to anyone here in the city, but no, I think the problems are to a point where we need outside help to address some of these things.
I was supposed to start the show off by saying this, and I didn't get a chance to say this. And in no way is this, like you said, a slight to anyone in office, anyone near office right now. This is just me trying to understand and give the information to the public of how we can be accountable and how everyone in the city can help this, right? Everybody, every person that considers themselves a resident of the 19013 can be held accountable for this, and you can stand up and help Mr. Dowery and his team find solutions that can help the city of Chester.
Absolutely.
I got a question up, but it's not about this, right? Do you feel so we have different entities in the city. We have Covanta, we have the parking meters. I heard a little bit about the centralization of the fire department. We have the police pension plan, which I want to get into that with you, and then we have Chester Water Authority, right? So if all of those things come together, right, then and they're giving money to the city in a way that's understood, can we keep the water authority? Can the water authority stay Chester Water Authority? Do we have to sell it? But I think my biggest question for you right now is this Covanta situation that just happened, where you said that the city left some money on the table. Can you explain that?
Okay, we'll start with the Covanta and come back to the water authority.
Yeah.
We certainly, the city left some money on the table with the 2017 negotiations. It's hard to deny, it's black and white that the rates were decreased through that process. So it is our hope as we engage the Delaware Solid Waste Authority, I believe next week, and we'll begin direct negotiations with Covanta shortly thereafter, that we will be able to restore those rates to market rates, and make those rates comparable to what you would see in other areas. My focus on Covanta is from my narrow scope of the work that what I'm responsible for, and that's the financial considerations. There are environmental concerns, what have you, that will still need to be addressed. But my focus at this point is on the financial.
All right, awesome. So again, that Covanta situation, right? What can, because they just signed a new deal, right?
No. The Covanta, okay, let's talk to the contract a little bit.
Right.
The deal or the contract that is currently in place, and it is in place through April of 22.
Okay.
I believe it's towards the end of the month.
Right.
That deal has an automatic renewal in it that is unilateral. Covanta could seek an extension on their own for up to 10 years. They did submit notice to the city of their intent to extend, but where my team is interceding and saying that, we need to renegotiate these rates before we can extend. And also to the contract itself, if that language isn't updated, then that automatic extension is just going to happen again at the end of every period. So we need some better language in there related to the extension. It's not uncommon to give rights to both sides to work through that, but for it to be unilateral, that's just not going to work for the city of Chester. So in December or January, don't recall the exact date, but Covanta did provide notice to the city that it is seeking to extend the contract. So we have to work through that. We'll be meeting with Covanta next month, and we'll get there.
All right. Awesome. Parking meters, which to me, I understand the city needs money coming in from there, right? But why are they so expensive, right? Why is it so? I think it's like $1 for an hour, or $1.25 for an hour. I know I got a couple tickets I got to go pay. I'm gonna get it paid, right? But why is it so expensive, and why can't it be 25 cents or 25 cents for an hour, 25 cents for a half an hour, 50 cents for an hour? Like, can you explain that to us?
Well, I can't explain why the rates were set at the current level.
Right.
I wasn't here in 2019, I believe, is when that was constructed.
Right.
To that end, though, I think we're on the same page that the rates here in Chester are above market rates in the region.
Absolutely.
And need to be brought back in line with what the expectation for the market should be, and at the current state of the market. So I'm not against parking meters. I think parking meters can be a tool in economic development. At some point, as you begin to deal with critical mass and customers, patrons, or just visitors to the downtown area, maybe eventually you get to a point where they're competing for spaces. There's a need to put a meter in because it encourages the turnover and gives the next customer the opportunity to find a space. I don't think Chester has reached that tipping point yet. So meters themselves may be a little premature in the economic development conversation. But as an economic development tool, I think parking meters do provide value. Beyond that, at whatever point you interject them into the process of economic development, rates should marry or be according to what the demand is. And as of right now, the rates, I don't believe, are in line with what the expectation of the public and the business owners alike and residents what it needs to be.
Definitely isn't. So I see they're doing a 2-hour parking. I see signs posted up. Is that along with the parking meters? Is that in the parking meters department? The 2-hour parking and residential parking. They have it in Sun Hill, I think, and I think I saw a couple on a couple streets off of 9th Street. Is that aligned with the parking meters?
Yeah, that's also controlled by the same third party. And again, to that point, every community needs I'll say a parking program,
right,
tailored to that community and what the needs are. I've heard nothing bad about the residential parking programs that are here in Chester and near campus or the soccer stadium, what have you. That there's a need for a residential program that can and should continue if that's what the residents want and need. But a full, complete parking plan, a study with public involvement, we should work through that process and arrive at what makes sense for Chester here and now.
Absolutely, what makes sense. I know when you first came to the city, they were talking about centralizing the fire department, right? I guess would that include making the fire department smaller and just putting one fire department for the entire city, or how explain that to me? How does that work?
Yeah, that was something on the table, and we recently had McGrath consultants in here to really review the fire operations demand and what the needs are. Where Chester is currently is that the existing fire stations are outdated. Just as simple as the bay doors for a truck to be able to pull in. Right. The bay doors aren't high enough for as tall as the new trucks are, Wow. So, and being able to keep up with modern technology, I'll say there is a need to reinvest into the existing facilities. Okay. So the question becomes, with any of that and the type of money we're talking about, do you invest that into the existing locations and build them up, or is this an opportunity to invest in different locations and provide better service throughout the community? And then that's where the consolidation conversation comes in. So could one centrally located facility, let's say around Deshaun Park area, could that provide adequate coverage for the entire city? We didn't go any further, although that was a recommendation of the consultants that for the size of Chester and the needs that this community could get by with one station. It wasn't about closing the West End location and keeping the East or East versus West. Right. It was about building something in a central hub that can equally service the entire city. Unfortunately, though, the money isn't there to do one or the other. We couldn't invest into the existing facilities, and we don't have the capital to build a new one. We had hoped that through ARPA, some of the federal stimulus dollars, that it may be able to support that type of project, but the needs are just too great. That money has been spent 3-4 times over already in planning, not in actual. But that initiative is somewhat abandoned at this point. But that is something that needs to be taken into consideration as there are capital needs throughout.
Now, you just mentioned ARPA. How much money was the city, or is the city planning to receive from that?
In total, almost 32 million.
32 million.
Received the first 50% of that around April of last year. Okay. Still working through a planning process or beginning stages of a planning process. Fourth quarter of last year, the city engaged UHY Meridian as a accounting team or accounting professionals to come in and just manage just that money. Make sure the city doesn't commingle with general funds, make sure that the tracking and reporting is meeting federal requirements, what have you, and to help with that planning process. There are a lot of regs that are coming out with this money, more final regs that just came out within the last 30 days or so, and really need their expertise to really navigate that. So the city's received about half of its allocation, but the planning process is still underway.
They say that the reason that Act 47 is in place, and how long has the city been in Act 47 first?
1995, 96 timeframe.
1995. And now we have the police pension program. I don't understand it. I need somebody to explain it to me. How does that work for police that have retired, right? How does it work? Explain that to me.
Okay. We'll start at the top, describe pensions, and then I'll drill down to the issue at hand.
Right.
Pensions are common in government. For someone working in the private sector, they're more familiar with a 401k kind of a system where you put your money in, depending on how it grows, whatever that is what you'll have at the end of your employment. Hopefully your employer is putting something in to match, but it's more of it's not a defined benefit. It's all based on what your contributions and what the performance is in the market. A pension is a defined benefit that if you work X number of years, the employer will give you X as your pension benefit. And as it's worked, and it's not uncommon for governments that you hit a 20-year or 25-year mark of years of service with that employer, you're expecting a pension benefit that's somewhere around 50% of what your salary used to be for that employer. With the issue here in Chester, or for the police fund in particular, it's not supposed to be 50% of just your last year's salary. It's supposed to be 50% of the average of your last 3 years of salary. So what's happened in Chester is spiking. Folks eating up as much overtime, et cetera, as they can in that last year, really to run the number up. And then when you take 50% of that number, many are walking out with a pension that is higher than their base salary when they were employees. Wow. So just give some rough math. If I'm a police officer and my salary is roughly $80,000 a year, with overtime, I may be averaging about $100,000 a year, right? Well, what we're seeing in that spiking is that in that last year, officers were earning over $200,000 a year, $230,000 a year, right? And how do you get to that from a base salary of $80,000? So the Auditor General cited concerns with it going back to 2015, 2016 timeframe. And the issue at hand, and I'll drill down to what took place here. But although the AG cited concerns about it, there really wasn't any action taken. That these numbers don't seem right. You know, how are officers earning over $200,000 in a year? So as we dug into the pension ordinances, met with the pension board, met with the unions to get a better understanding, review labor contracts, we realized that, okay, it's not supposed to just be the last year. You're supposed to take an average of the last 3 years. And that helps with that spiking issue. Although overtime can be included in the calculation, right, it's unlikely that somebody's going to be able to sustain that much overtime for a 3-year period. Right. Burning the candle from two ends. I mean, and talk about public safety, you know, it's just, it's not safe for anyone. So what we're seeing now is, as we're looking at those calculations, we know by contract or by ordinance or by law that it's supposed to be the 3-year average. Now it's going back and recalculating those pension benefits. So anyone hired after 1988 and before 2017 falls into this bucket. In 2017, with that labor contract, they made they overhauled the pension program with those 2017 new hires. So anyone hired currently is under a new system for post 2017. So there's no concern with this for any new hires coming in, but it's going back to those who are still under the old pension benefit and saying, okay, did the city calculate your pension benefit correctly? Some of those guys are still on the force, so we'll deal with it as they approach retirement. But to those who went out, who were hired between 88 and 17 and have gone out, it's going back and recalculating the benefits. And it's extreme.
It is.
For 40% reductions. But then you have the other side where 2 or 3 people saw increases.
Right.
You know, because they weren't just trying to spike in that last year and
Absolutely.
actually did more over time in the 2 years prior. So it's not across the board cuts, but it is a recalculation, and many are being impacted.
Right. What are your thoughts about Chester Water Authority selling our water authority to Aqua? I know the Chester Water Authority just increased their rates not too long ago. I don't know if everybody knows that, but they've increased their rates. What are your thoughts about selling the water authority to Aqua, and how do you feel like that could help the city of Chester come out of receivership?
Yeah. Well, I'll categorize that as privatization.
Okay.
What are my thoughts about privatization? Before I answer that question, I think we should talk about monetization.
Okay.
The city is in a situation, as the most recent actuarial valuation reports just came out, where the police pension plan has 1.5% funding in it. Now, obviously, you want to be 100% funded. I don't think there's another pension plan in the country that is that poorly funded. 1.5%. So there is a serious need for an influx of cash, of money coming into the city to build up reserves, bring down annual costs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So monetization almost has to happen unless there's some significant bailout from the state or federal government. Monetization will have to happen because Chester can't cut its way out of this. You're at a bare minimum workforce as it is. As I said, pension benefits for employees hired after 2017 have already been reduced. So there's only so many more cuts that can be enacted. Now we got to look at the other side of the equation and say, how much money do we need to put in to help right this ship? And that goes back to your earlier question or comment about Chester fixing this on its own. But either way, so monetization will be needed. But now we take the monetization part and, as I said, separate that from the privatization. It's not necessary for Chester Water Authority to be sold to Aqua or any other private bidder. It is possible, as CWA was a participant in the RFP and bid, that the asset could remain in public hands and the city of Chester still receive the influx of cash that it's looking for. It is possible to do both.
Explain that.
Well, how can I explain it? Think of it as a subsidiary that has grown to the point where it's strong enough to stand independently.
Okay.
So although the Kenny Corporation, remember Kenny Shoes?
Yeah.
Well, Kenny Shoes owns Foot Locker.
Okay.
They also own Champs, and they also own East Bay, the magazine.
Yeah.
Any of those entities, subsidiaries, probably is strong enough to stand on its own. But the Kenny Corporation isn't going to just say, go ahead, do your own thing. No, there's going to be some type of buyout that has to happen. So Chester, the city of Chester, started the Chester Water Authority. That's been upheld in Commonwealth Court. That can't be disputed. If the CWA is to spin off and become its own, that's fine.
Right.
But there is something due back to the entity that started it.
Okay.
So CWA could continue to be an authority, could continue to be a public authority and operate independently, but there still has to be something for that separation, some type of compensation back to the city.
and that makes sense, right? I think that's what was being asked in the beginning, right? Is the Chester Water Authority Chester's property? If it's not Chester's property, then pay us for starting it. I think that was the conversation that was being had, but it was just missed because you had Aqua sitting there trying to buy, and I had Aqua when I lived in Eddystone, and they terrible, bro. I ain't fooling with them, right? But I think these conversations need to be had more often, right? The only way we can understand what your job is and what you're doing in the community and how you're trying to fix this is to have these conversations, right? So I I get a station to you, right? Whenever you want to come up, you don't have to sit with me. You can come up here and just talk to the people, right? You can talk to a couple other guys that you have working with you and talk about this problem for the community. I've always given you that. I'm giving you that live on CMP, right? Let you know, I support you. I don't see you as a enemy as long as you're not trying to close CMP and thinking that's going to help. No, that's not going to help. That's not gonna
Nah, I don't think that would help the city's bottom line. But the
help.
open invitation and I'll say not even respect. It's about serving the community and having to have. We need to have these conversations so that you can filter and give this information out. So I appreciate the platform and the open invitation. Being able to meet the Chestorians and some of the other counterparts here in the city has been eye-opening.
Absolutely.
We don't know what we don't know.
We don't.
So we need to have these conversations so that I can be enlightened and we can factor it into our work moving forward, and then also to garner whatever support may be needed, but then more importantly to be able to be transparent and open and answer any questions that may be.
Right.
So thank you for your work in the community, not just with CMP, but you're a mover and shaker in many different ways. So anything that I can do to help support that, I'm always here.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, man. We were on another Zoom call, and you hit me up. You was like, Pierre, man, what's going on? I ain't seen you. I said, man, I've been working so hard, man. I had to take a break from Facebook and different things like that. I have to understand what's good for me. I'm basically putting myself under receivership right now and saying, all right, this is clear that table off, man. What's good for you? What's going to allow CMP to continue to grow, and what's good for you personally? So I understand that, man. I appreciate that. So, but like I said, anytime you want to come through, man, I'll send you the link, and you go ahead and do it yourself. I appreciate you, man. I truly do. And no beef. This is not about anybody in the city of Chester. This is about Chester standing up and being accountable for the things that Chester has to be accountable for. So we can't be mad. We can't feel any type way. And we just get this work done, man, because I know we can do it. Chester, I know we can do it. There's so much that we have, so much heart that this city has, man. So much grit, so much. We're not going to do this, right? We have to come together. We have to unify, and we have to stop allowing other people's problems to become our problems. Literally, seriously. I want to thank Mr. Michael Dowery, the city's receiver. Anything you want to say before we get up out of here?
Yeah. Chester made. I'll just share a quick what I talked to you about at the outset of taking my lumps.
Right.
Councilman Roots and some others have took a dig at me with some York versus Chester basketball stuff. So I took a chance to see what it was hitting for last week, and respect.
Right.
Definitely respect for the city of Chester and basketball. So thank you to the Boys and Girls Club for inviting me in, being a great host, Derek Billups and the rest of the team over there. I don't know if I'll be back. I don't know if that's the right way to go. Probably will be during business hours to have a formal meeting with a jacket on, but I won't be lacing them up with them guys anymore. Salute. Respect.
Absolutely.
But no, thank you for your time.
No problem. No problem at all, man. Be safe out there and continue to think about, the future of the city of Chester and the children. We got to have another discussion about that, man. But be safe, man.
Anytime. Stay up.
Right. Peace. Man, that was a great conversation with Mr. Michael Dowery, the receiver of the city of Chester. Listen, we have to come together. We can't continue to have all these divisive situations going on in our community. But again, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, HCS. COVID vaccine rates in Delaware County are really low for young Black people and their children. It's time to have a real conversation about this. In collaboration with Dr. Kristen Ball Motley's firm, HCS, we're hosting Keeping It 100 COVID Conversation. Dads are speaking out right here on cmpradio.net tonight at 7 p.m. We'll hear from moms tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Also on Saturday, come get your COVID vaccine and booster at the Black-owned Business Bazaar this Saturday at the Leak Center. Vaccines and boosters are free for anyone 5 and up. Again, they are free for anyone ages 5 and up. The clinic is between 12 and 2 p.m. Check out our live broadcast by the hilarious Lamar Todd right here on cmpradio.net. If you have any questions, call or text Dr. Kristen Ball Motley at 267-322-0470. Again, that's 267-322-0470. Right. That's definitely a dope situation. So I want to answer a question that was asked of me earlier. Let me find it. Hopefully I can find it. Oh man, this stuff is crazy. Hey mom, how you doing? Currently, I'm not able to do the basketball games. The school district has their own channel. You can go to Chester Upland School District on YouTube, not on Facebook. It's on YouTube, and you can watch all the games. They have a great cameraman. They have a great situation. I'm trying to understand what all I am capable of doing correctly, right? So they have a dope situation over there. Definitely go check them out, and support our young children that are playing basketball and that are hoping that they can get into a good college and continue their careers, man. Shout out to everybody out there, man. Shout out to all the basketball players, all the coaches, the whole school district, right? It's nothing personal. It's a me thing, right? So, but yeah, definitely support that, right? Thank you. No problem, Drew. We working up here, man. It's cmpradio.net. I want to thank everybody for tuning in again, man. If you have any content, bring it here to cmpradio.net. Let's go.